Hi, everybody. Today is Tuesday, June 15th, and you are at the Kubernetes SIG Testing bi-weekly meeting. I am your host, Aaron Krickenberger, aka SpiffXP, aka Aaron of SIG Beard. We're all going to adhere to the Kubernetes Code of Conduct while we're at this meeting, and while we participate in the project in general, by being our very best selves to each other. If you have a problem with the conduct of this meeting or of any of the attendees in this meeting, please you can reach out to me personally on Slack or wherever, or you can also reach out to conduct@kubernetes.io. On today's agenda, we're going to talk about Naveed and following up on external secrets for SNCC scanning. And then it's kind of open questions if anybody has any specific questions. I initially had plans to scrub all of the issues related to moving Kubernetes CI related stuff over to K8s infra, but I didn't get time to do that ahead of time. So before I hold you all hostage by walking through all of that live, we could answer specific stuff if people have specific interests or questions. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Naveed.
Sure. So I think this PR is about adding a bit of context. Like this is about adding a continuous SNCC scan job and CI, which would run a SNCC CLI against KK master, and this requires a secret that will authenticate the SNCC CLI against the server to perform the job. In order to get that secret into the infrastructure, I think we are going to use external secrets here, and there was a need to do some plumbing that was needed on the test infra side that is already being done by Aaron. Thanks a lot, Aaron. So I am following up on that to understand what would be the next steps to get the secret actually into the GSM.
Yeah, I can speak to this. I appreciate your patience. I keep tripping into other pieces of tech debt as I try to get this up and running. So I think the next step is to create the external secret CRD over in the K8s infra trusted K8s infra ProwBuild trusted cluster. I'm trying to dig up a link for where you would put that. So it'd be a PR against the K8s.io repo. We've watched that merge. Since I haven't had a chance to really exercise external secrets over there, I would manually go take a look at the logs and make sure that processed correctly. And then if that's the case, we'd update your test infra PR for the job config to target the K8s infra ProwBuild trusted cluster. Does that make sense?
I think the first point under that, which is about 222298, that PR is already one against test infra to create a CR for external secrets, and I keep that on a hold. But I think that secret, external secret CR, is referencing the actual secret that will be created in GSM, and that step is pending. So I don't know, if I'll get an access to get to GSM and this test infra to write that secret myself, or
right, you need to also populate that secret. Okay, there's a gcloud command I can paste to you offline to update the value of the secret. But this PR 222298, I'm going to ask you to close this and open a new PR against the K8s.io repo. I posted a path to the resources file, and if you can just make a new file named external secrets or something, and put your CR in there, that should work. I mean, we can do the CR PR first. It'll probably before you update the secret with the value, but I'll coordinate with you on this immediately after this meeting if you're available after this meeting.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Again, I apologize for the delay. A lot of it was getting everything in place to actually get it up and running and have the secrets automatically provisioned and all that good stuff.
I saw that.
yeah, so I feel confident by after we coordinate after this meeting, we'll be able to go see successful test runs of this on test grid, or at least get to the point where like your job is running and it's not breaking because it can't access the token that it needs.
Sounds good.
After that.
Yep.
Okay. Who else has stuff they want to talk about?
How do y'all need help?
That's a great question, Paris. Well, we have a project board that Ben and I have tried to keep up to date, but like I said, I didn't have time to really sweep through it for this meeting. I'll post a link in chat, but I will also share my screen for this. So this project board is called the SIG Testing Issues Project Board. The idea is we put issues and issues only on here. Rather than talking about PRs specifically, we want to make sure we're talking about closing issues if they take multiple PRs to address. And if you're coming here asking about a specific PR, most likely we got to make sure there's an issue covering this work. Which, as I say that out loud, I think Naveed has one, but I legit can't remember off the top of my head. And in terms of like where we want help, we have a help wanted column. We try to keep it populated with issues that are relevant and have the help wanted label on them. And could use, let's see, so I hear one, I see one here that's stale. I'm going to remove lifecycle stale on it because it's still a problem. But just to ramble out loud about this one, for example, you may, if you've lived the CI signal life or have been involved in troubleshooting stuff with the Kubernetes release, you might notice that there are some tests that have, please hold, there are like multiple columns in test grid, right? All these numbers and stuff up here. I don't know if people can see this. I'll blow it up a bit. Maybe. Or maybe test grid will not play well. Oh boy. And if I hover over like the top column, the tooltip will say commit. And this is the commit of Kubernetes, the repo. So like if I'm trying to verify like which version of my tests are running or which version of the code is being exercised, that's what this column is about. But then this other column here is called infra commit. And it's kind of a holdover from the days where like literally everything related to testing and jobs and all that stuff lived in the test infra repo. And so often people will take a look at the infra commit and see when that changes to decide like when their job config changed or when the version of kubetest used changed. Because what this issue was tracking was like somebody added a new flag to kubetest. Kubetest is not dynamically built on the fly. It's installed in the version of kubekins that runs, right? And this commit here doesn't correspond to the version of kubekins that runs, nor does it correspond to the version of kubetest that's being used. It corresponds to the test infra repo whenever this job happened to run. So people are starting to lose useful information to help them figure out what actually changed. And so test grid has this wonderful feature where you can add like a bunch of custom columns. I'm probably not going to find it on the first try. Let's see. Might be no D2E. Kind of can't remember. while I'm looking for it, test grid has a feature that allows you to specify custom columns. Let's see if it tells me how to do it here. You can see how well this is documented. Column headers. Okay, here we go. That's the job name. So it gives you the option to specify custom column headers, and this will show up in test grid as additional columns. And so the idea is we would want to add an additional column just for the version of kubetest that's being run. And this is relevant not just for kubetest, but also for pretty much anything like the version of kubekins E2E that's running, or the version of kubetest 2 for all the jobs that we've converted to kubetest 2. The idea is we would need to, oh man, this is annoying. Let me go see if I can find an example run of whatever this job is. Ubuntu dev. Let's see. Okay. That job doesn't exist anymore. Cool, cool, cool. Let's look for the node OS image thing. And let's look in the test infra repo. Awesome. CI, Kubernetes, E2E, blah, 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 blah. I wonder if I can find this by searching test grid. No, I can't. I wonder if I look for Kate's beta reboot. I can. All right, let's go see what that shows me. Hey, look, there are a bunch of additional columns here, and I'm hovering over one of them, and I can see node OS image over there, and I can see other stuff. So basically, this issue is about making extra columns like this that show the kubetest version. And I'm rambling about how to do this, and it's not super specifically documented or spelled out in this issue. But the idea is, because it's tagged as, it's not tagged as help wanted. Please hold.
I just wanted to come off mute and laugh for a minute.
This is what happens when you all just let me ramble live. I've been told that people like it when I make mistakes and when I stumble around, because you learn how I use our different tools and stuff to find things. But I gotta admit, like, I feel like sometimes I'm just wasting people's time here. So because the issue is tagged as
a lot, by the way.
The idea is, like, if you want to work on something, like, comment on the issue and reach out to us in the SIG testing channel and say, hey, I want to work on this thing. What do I need to do? If it's not spelled out in the issue description, we'll work with you to try and, like, update what we think the next steps would be. This was maybe a poor example to choose, since it didn't even have the help wanted issue, or the help wanted label. Like, let's see. This one might also be involved. This one is super easy. So, for example, we have a ton of images that are used in a bunch of our test infrastructure and a bunch of our jobs. And we've got a checklist here for which images have readmes and which ones don't. Because when I navigate to, like, what's the difference between Alpine and Alpine Bash? I don't know, because they don't have readmes. It's kind of annoying. But, like, if I go look at the README for KRTE, well, there's a big scary thing that says, warning, use it at your own risk for your personal needs. But it also says it's used for kind. So all of the CI jobs that are related to kind use this image. I think another example would be the generically named BigQuery image. This says what it's used to run, and then, like, basically what tools are installed in it. It's a convention I personally am trying to follow when I make new images. Like I made an image in the K8s.io recently called K8s Infra, which has all of the tools necessary to run all of the tests and manage all of the infrastructure that we manage in the K8s Infra working group. So to contribute to, I've lost my place already. To contribute to this issue would involve saying, hey, I want to work on this, or even just opening a pull request that references this issue. And they're like, hey, I'm gonna work on the G-Cloud thing. And I'm gonna take a look at the Docker file and see what's used here. I'm gonna take a look at the cloud build file and see that it builds this thing called G-Cloud and Go. And I'll go use cs.k8s.io maybe to go see like, so what uses G-Cloud and Go? And then I've got a bunch of jobs and stuff that I could go look at to say, well, it's used to run these jobs and these things. I could keep going and doing this for all the help wanted issues, but I think I've answered your question, Paris.
Yes.
What else do people want to talk about? From migration.
I'm sorry.
Arnaud, would you like to give a little bit of an update on what you've done regarding Prow so far? Will I go find some links?
I didn't work on that part for a long time. I'm planning to deploy a new instance of Pro this week. I just need to take care of basically the CLA signing for the new GitHub bot. But I have like a question about Pro migration, because I feel like once we have a new Pro instance, what's the next step? Because I'm not sure I'm capable to write a migration plan talk from basically pro.k8s.io to basically the new community on infrastructure.
Okay, so the issue that Arnaud has been working in, I pasted in chat, but the idea is we want to eventually have prow.k8s.io run in the same GCP organization and stuff that everything else managed by K8s Infra runs in, because that's the place where community members can help run Prow. Like, I want to live in a world where we don't have a secret group of Googlers that you have to beg and plead to make things happen. I want people who are interested in changing Prow or understanding why Prow isn't working, or who want to help make Prow work better. I want to give people visibility. And we can't do that while Prow continues to run in a google.com owned project, because only Googlers can be assigned to use google.com projects. So what makes this really tricky is that, as far as I know, to date, we've never had like multiple Prow control planes pointed at the same repo, or pointed at the same build cluster, or pointed at the same set of job configs. So as much as I would love for it to be like we stand up the new Prow instance, and then we just gradually like start saying run on the new Prow instance instead of the old Prow instance, we could end up in a situation where like there are competing bots all like talking on the same pull request, or trying to like label and remove labels from each other, things of that nature. So that's why developing a plan on how to do this is the next. I'm talking like I'm sharing my screen, and I'm not. I'm sorry. Developing a plan to do this is sort of an open issue. Now I've lost my chat window because I was going to paste that there for you to follow along. And I'll admit, like, I haven't touched this issue in a long time. It was basically, first it was about setting up build clusters over in the K8s infra area. There's a Google Doc linked in this issue, and there are a bunch of issues that are linked from this. There's even a checklist of some issues that need to be completed to make this build cluster totally done. And then Arno is correct. We also started up a discussion about this, thinking that maybe discussions would be a better way to coordinate asynchronously. And we can continue to coordinate here if y'all want. I feel like part of the problem is just my availability keeps, coming and going. I'm not sure who else feels knowledgeable enough to help sort of draft this plan. But I believe the plan's going to look something like, standing up a Prow instance, and then maybe like flipping an entire repo to be managed just by this Prow instance, which is probably going to involve telling prow.k8s.io to explicitly not manage this repo, and then telling the staging Prow instance to explicitly manage this repo. There's been work done along the way to make Prow's config a little, you can now exclude things on a per repo basis for most of Prow's configuration settings. So I think we have all of the required tools and technology and configuration support to do this. We just do kind of need to draft a plan and walk through it as a group and agree to execute on it. And as I've said before and commented on issues, I'm happy to draft that plan. I just need to get some dedicated time to set aside for that. And at the moment, I'll just say that personally, the higher priority for me is going to be one of checking where we are on migrating all of the assets that are used in CI for the Kubernetes release process, basically. I don't have the issues for this super handy. Let's see. This is part of it. All of the image registries that are used as part of Kubernetes CI should live in K8s infra. We've got issues for a bunch of these. Some of you are more familiar with this than others. I know CloudU has been doing a bunch of great work on making sure that all of the images that are used as part of E2E test now, for the most part, live in instead of living in the google.com owned Kubernetes E2E test images, they live in, oh boy. They live in K8s infra test images. We've got all sorts of wonderful PRs that describe what's been done so far. We have a companion issue over in Kubernetes to talk about updating the Kubernetes code to do this. Yada, yada, yada. But I feel like what we're missing right now is just a checklist of okay, so what images are left and what needs to be done to close each of those out. I think we've got most of the issues open for this and most of the pull requests open for this. It's just nobody's gone back and tried to consolidate it into one comment that I could easily copy paste into a description or something. You came up
for this particular issue, only those pull requests.
These two?
Remain. Yeah.
All right. I'm sure I'm CC'd on them, but if I'm not, I will.
Yeah, this basically adds the last image for the E2E test image registry. This is gonna update the manifest that is gonna be used in all E2E tests.
Okay.
Yeah, we already have the job up, I think. Yeah. We only need the pull request with the image, which is this one to merge.
Again, I don't want to review this live during the meeting, but I'll take a look at this as soon as I'm done helping Naveed. So for me, like getting all the images and stuff moved over is a higher priority. Like getting that plan together is a higher priority for me than working on the plan to get the staging pro instance up and moving some jobs and stuff over. The reason for that is because I'm thinking about, I'm not sure off the top of my head exactly what the release timeline is. Let's discover together. Oh wait, can't I do this via KateStab now? Resources, release information, or Kate's.io releases. Thank you. So TLDR, by July 8th or July 15th, we should basically not be changing code in Kubernetes anymore. And we tend to be a little sensitive about making big infrastructural changes for all of the things that run all of the tests for Kubernetes, depending on the stability of CI signal and the general flakiness of E2E tests and whatnot. So I'd like to plan what the next 3 or 4 weeks of work look like before I plan the Kate's Infra Prow stuff.
I have a question. That code freeze also affects the E2E test image migration, or test freeze could also work as well?
I would say largely test freeze is the date. Yeah, and you can click on these to see the definition. Test freeze is basically, we can't add any more new tests, but it is acceptable to like fix broken tests and whatnot. But for me, ideally, I'd like to see like all of the image stuff swapped over before test freeze to give us the time to like fix or revert if we notice anything is broken last minute. I recall that we went through a bit of a push right up against the test freeze deadline last cycle and didn't quite make it, which is why I believe we're really close on this particular issue. So yeah. I guess something else related to to this, which Arnaud is also working on, which I'm going to have to find the issues for. Oh. Let me think here. Kubernetes CI policy. Right. So we had closed these out. We've migrated like all of the jobs that are involved in getting the Kubernetes release out the door, both release blocking and merge blocking. I'll run on a build cluster in Kate's Infra. And community members totally are free to PR themselves into a group to like view the logs for that cluster, or check in on the nodes for that cluster, or view the logs for the projects where these E2E tests are running, all that great stuff. So now think about widening the scope of the number of jobs that we've got running over there, because the release blocking jobs and the merge blocking jobs make up, I think it's ballpark like 200 and something jobs out of the 2,000 and something jobs that we have configured to run via prow.kates.io. I opened up an issue about this too. I thought I had it handy, but apparently I don't. Some of the jobs that run on prow.kates.io are for projects that aren't actually part of Kubernetes at all. So there's a separate issue to like poke the owners of those projects to get their stuff off of prow.kates.io. These jobs shouldn't be migrated over to the K8s Infra Pro instance. They shouldn't run on the community build cluster, things like that. But it seems like now that we've taken care of all of the release blocking jobs, a good next step would be the release informing jobs, many of which appear to be red right now. But two of the big ones there are the scale correctness job and the scale performance job, which some of you know as the 5K node scalability tests. There are also a couple other scalability tests which don't appear to be on blocking, but help the scalability SIG troubleshoot and identify scalability regressions when they happen. Those jobs are all defined on the SIG scalability dashboard here. So you got the 5K node jobs. There are also 100 node jobs. There are also KubeMark related jobs over here. Various performance tests, so on and so forth. So Arnaud's working to get all of those jobs up and running over here. And this is just what happens to me. I have too many tabs open now. So I'm going to go back to the migration plan. And I'm going to look for scale. Maybe. Nope, apparently not. Maybe you've helped me out by posting it in there now. I can't find it. Okay. I have reached peak awkwardness of holding you all hostage while I stumble around. And I'm going to pause there. Does that engender any conversation, thoughts, or questions, or should we just call it here?
We still have one point in the doc.
Okay, sorry. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, it'll be a quick one. I just wanted to kind of throw a quick update on the E2E framework thing. We're making progress on the helper function package, I should say. And I dropped the initial PR, and we should have another PR coming up soon, which will have actual CRUD type abstraction for creating objects, etc. So, but it's a slow moving target, but it's moving nevertheless. That's all I wanted to add.
Awesome. Thank you for continued progress on this. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'm not going to ramble for another 20 minutes. I feel like that's a poor use of everybody's time here. So thank you all for your time. Thank you for showing up. And I hope you all have a happy Tuesday.
Thanks. Bye.